I know I look very young. I will say that the one factor that I've always considered a benefit of being of the younger generation, even though I don't have maybe as much work experience as a lot of my peers, is that I grew up with computers. I grew up with websites and phones all around me. So this is something I'm very familiar with. And it's always been something that I've been, wanted to do as a career because it was something that I knew was always going to be changing. I like having a very variable workflow. So being in the world of web design, SEO, and graphic design was going to be something that I knew was always going to interest me and always keep me entertained because it's constantly changing. Getting kind of into what I'm going to be talking about today. So you're going to learn about what your website should do, what it shouldn't do, how you can improve it. I want you to really look at what features you can look for on your website to make sure that you're retaining potential clients. I want you to look at ways you can optimize your online presence, both in the back end and front end of your website. And I want you to know how you can make your website reinforce your branding system so that you are both more memorable and recognizable to consumers, and even more than that. But getting into the three main points I want to cover, and if you pay attention to nothing else in this presentation, I want you to focus on this. So these are the three things that I really want you to know and remember for what your website should always do. Your website should always support your branding system, it should be easy to use, and it should be easily found. Supporting your branding system means all those logos, all the colors, all the fonts that you use, both on business cards, hopefully email signatures, and again, your website or social media, all of that should be cohesive because once again, if your branding system isn't recognizable, if it isn't reinforced throughout elements like your website, it's not going to be memorable to consumers and you're going to look like just another cookie cutter business. Especially these days when website design is getting easier and easier, we see a lot of web designers out there who use templates that you can just buy offline or create a template and then use it for all of your businesses. And while they can look great or they can look okay, they look very cookie cutter and they don't show a lot about what makes your specific business unique or why your business should be the one that consumers should reach out to. Number two, your website should be easy to use. And what that means is if you've ever had an experience where you're on your phone and a website form is halfway off the page, or you're trying to click a button and it doesn't work, or you can't read the text, all of that's really frustrating. So your website, because you know that, you should keep in mind if your website is easy to use for clients, both on desktop and mobile versions, and you should make sure that your website has all the information that your clients need to stay informed, both about your products, your services, about you, deals, all of that good stuff. And then the final thing I want you to keep in mind, number three, your website should be easily found. None of these other factors really matter if your website can't get found, because the main thing you want your website to do is draw in customers and draw in profits. If no one's finding your website, it doesn't really matter if your website reinforces your branding system or if it's easy to use because no one's there. So that's the third thing that I want to focus on. And it's maybe the most crucial point that you should really focus on when building your website is how you can make sure that your website is actually ranking on Google so that people can actually find you. Or even if it's not ranking on Google, the little things you can do, like putting it in email signatures, if you send out email campaigns, putting it on your business card, just so that you get some client retention. Of those three kind of categories that I was talking about previously, we're going to split it into four now more in-depth categories throughout this presentation. First thing I want to focus on is user flow. Second thing I want to focus on is reinforcing branding. The third thing is how you keep clients informed. And the fourth thing is, once again, improving SEO and your online ranking. Getting into kind of that user flow in this first section, the user flow is mobile usage. So like I was talking about, making sure that your website really works on both mobile and desktop platforms is crucial to ensuring that you don't get clients who come to your website and then immediately click off because they're frustrated because they can't get the information they need, buttons aren't working, they can't read the text, they're not getting their questions answered. More than 50% of people use websites on their phone and access websites on their phone. I'm sure many of you have had that experience of looking up restaurants near me or looking things up just from your phone, from your pocket immediately. The one crucial thing I'll say about mobile configuration of your website is this number is only going to go up. It wasn't so long ago that maybe only 10 or 15% of people were accessing websites from their phones. Now it's as high as 52%. And in future years, that's only going to increase and become more and more prevalent. So what I want you to focus on when it comes to your website and mobile and desktop compatibility is whether there are those small or unusable buttons on either your desktop or your mobile phone. I want you to focus on if forms are being pushed off the page, if there's content that's being pushed off the page, so that when people are on either a mobile or a tablet or a desktop version of your website, things get cut off the side so you can no longer access all the information you need. And I want you to focus on if customers are still being guided to where they need to go. User flow at basic definition is making sure you have an objective for your website and making sure that that objective is being met. So if your objective is that people buy your product or book your service, you want to make sure that all of your information, all the images, all of the infographics, all the call buttons, all of that's been organized in your website so that people get to where they need to go in the best, most efficient way possible. Here I'll show kind of a one-page example of why user flow matters. This is a funeral singer, and it shows how even in one page that user flow is really important. So this really starts out with about us. It goes into his services, talks about who he is, talks about his specific story, shows a picture of him, all the while reinforcing branding before finally getting to a get in touch section. And why even in one page this is so crucial is because if I was booking a service with a funeral singer, I probably wouldn't want to click on a page and just see book now, right? Even if the information about me and my story and services was underneath, I would feel a little impersonal and a little taken aback to immediately click on his website and just see, well, you can call me right now, or you can book my service right now. I'd rather have all that information about who he is, what's his story, a picture of him smiling, a picture of him being personal. And again, going into his services, funeral singing is not a huge industry. I don't know if every funeral singer is going to offer the same services. Making sure that I have that information blocked out beforehand for potential clients before they even get to a contact button is huge, because then I'm not getting a bunch of content from people calling me or sending me a message asking, hey, do you do so-and-so? Do you do this and this? Because they already can see from my service page what I offer, or my service section, what I offer. So even in just one page, again, and I'll replay this because it went through it a little bit fast the first time. Even in just one page, you can really see how it starts with a huge picture, shows what he does visually, then it gets into his mission, his statement, his values, his services, what specifically he does that makes him unique, and what people can expect when they book service with him, who he is, and then his story, his pictures, so that you can see what he looks like before finally having that get in touch contact option. The 3 tips I want to give you for user flow is I want you to focus on what are your objectives. So again, are you selling a product? Are you selling your service? What are you offering to consumers that you want people to be able to do when they get to your website? Some people, all they want is a contact form. They want people to call them, get in touch, and get and receive clients that way. Some people just want people to sign up for an email list. Maybe you have sub-objectives within your objectives of making sure people maybe find your social medias, find your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok, whatever, get more of a following on those, especially for people like we have a lot of small businesses who come to us where social media like Instagram is where they primarily get clients, and their website is maybe just a secondary source for that. That's great. Keep that in mind when you're creating your website. If you are creating a website where your main objective is buying products, but your secondary objective is I really want people to sign up for an email list so that I can better manage my CRM, keep that in mind too when you're designing your website, so that you can make sure once your website's been entirely created, or after it's been created and you have it existing for a couple of years, you can go back and check, is this still doing everything that I want it to do? The second thing with user flow that I want you to keep in mind is efficiency and interest. Like that example that I showed, not everyone is going to have their information on their website organized in the same way. Some people are going to want their website to have an about section, a value section, a mission section, a services section before finally getting to the call to action or contact button. Some people don't want that. Sometimes, depending on your industry, you'll want that book option or buy option right away because clients are going to be uninterested if they have to scroll through a bunch of things to find out more about your service. So it really is dependent on who your customers are, who your customer base is. A great way of figuring out what kind of a website you should be creating for your industry is looking at competitors in your industry and how they've structured their websites. If a lot of your competitors are building websites that just have a buy button immediately right when you get to the landing page of your website, that's probably something you'll want to do. But if a lot of your clients, or a lot of your customers, I should say, are building websites where that buy, book now, contact button is way towards the bottom of the landing page, then that's probably what you're going to want to mimic too. And then finally, a great way to kind of organize your website, whether it's been built or it's being built, is to make a map for user flow. And that really shows how users, you can expect them to be directed through your website, especially if you have multiple pages, knowing when people might click to one of those sub pages, like an about page to learn more, or contact page so they can fill out a contact form. And really keeping in mind how all of the information on your website has been organized so that you can optimize, again, that objective. That's your main thing that you want people to accomplish. So if your map doesn't lead at the end to your objective, you're not doing what your website isn't doing what it needs to do. Now that we know a bit more about creating a user flow map and making sure people are being directed through your website in the right way, we can focus on the actual kind of exterior parts of your website, which is branding. So branding, again, should be used in all aspects of your business. It should be used on your website, yes, but also business cards, email signatures. We'll get into like Google My Business profiles, social media, all signage, all these different ways that branding can support your business to make sure your business doesn't get lost in the shuffle of other industries like you. 3 things that you can focus on for effective branding is making sure your branding is memorable, logical, and unique. So focusing on just logos for a second, memorable would mean that your logo is consistently used across all of your branding materials. People see it all the time. They know what it looks like. This is a great example. If you have social media, making sure that your logo is the profile picture in your social media seems like a no-brainer because everyone understands that the reason you do that is to make sure that your brand is more memorable and people recognize your brand more easily immediately upon seeing content. Your website and email signatures, all these things should be the same way, because if your logo and your branding is included in these online platforms and online tools, you're doing the same thing where people immediately see who your business is, they understand who you are, they remember you easier, and you become more top of mind. Second thing you should focus on with logos and branding in general is whether it's logical. So for example, if you are a lawyer, you probably don't want the colors of your business to be bright pink and bright green. You'll probably go for more muted tones, maybe a dark blue, a dark brown, maybe like a gold and a black, but you're going to go for more professional colors because that shows to your clients that you take your job seriously. If you are someone who has a very fun personality, however, that's where we can get into the unique section. I'll go in just a second here on a logo that I created for a client where one of the things that he felt was unique about his business is that he's a really fun guy. And he is, genuinely, he is a very fun guy. So showing that through your branding can be an effective way of showing why your service is unique, what sets you apart from competition. So as much as you want to be logical and you don't want to be too far out the box, you maybe don't want to use bright pink and bright green if you're a lawyer, there are ways of showing, and there should be ways of showing through your branding how you're unique to your clients and your potential customers. Another thing your branding should really focus on is answering the questions of who, what, and where. Who are you? What's your business? Who do you serve? Where do you serve? Sometimes even you can see some of the logos here show, Midwest, or there's one for True North. Showing where you serve can sometimes be a crucial component of your brand and what makes you unique. So that's something that you really want to highlight then in your branding system. And then again, with these who, what, where questions, you also want to focus on who your clients are and what your clients are looking at. If your clients are in a younger generation, that can change what kind of branding tools you should be using and what branding system you should create for your business. Sometimes creating a branding system that appears maybe a little outdated to some is a good move if a lot of your clientele are in an old generation. Sometimes branding systems that could appear a little noisy and loud is great if you have a lot of customers in the younger generation. So really trying to balance that out and seeing what other brands they interact with can be a great way of informing what your brand should look like if you don't have an existing branding system. To show kind of an example of effective branding, this is talked about, again, I probably had this brought up in 3 or 4 different classes while I was going to school for graphic and web design, is effective branding and how Tropicana failed at a redesign of their packaging. So if we're getting into kind of those memorable, logical, unique components of effective branding, the original package here is memorable, it's logical, and unique. We can see visually what makes this product special is that it is 100% juice. We can see that visually because the straw is going directly into the juice. We know what that means, and it's unique compared to other packaging. It's got good branding. The logo is highly legible and visible compared to if we look at the rebrand, the logo is positioned on its side, which means it's not as legible. Most of the packaging is taken up by just this vague orange gradient that's meant to signify orange juice. If I'm going to the orange juice section, I probably know what I'm getting, probably not confused. And if nothing else, all the other packaging in this section will have already similar branding to this. So it's not particularly memorable. The one thing I will say that's nice about this is it is logical. I know when I'm picking this up that it is orange juice. It'd be hard to not know that it was orange juice because that's pretty much the only thing it says. And the other one thing that's going for this is it has a fun cap where it looks like an orange that has a leaf. I'll pull up this main slide too so you can see it again. The one thing that I would maybe take from this entire packaging to the old packaging is this cap and put it on here. It's just another nice fun touch that makes their packaging more memorable. But all in all, we're failing at no longer a legible logo. What makes this product unique, the fact that it's 100% juice, is no longer being shown visually, but it's being put in text on top of an orange glass juice. And the contextualization in my mind, trying to piece those together is a little less successful. And it's not as unique as the original packaging. So all in all, a fairly unsuccessful rebrand of successful packaging. Getting into the design that I created again for this fun guy, the Max Cash Home Buyers, keep in mind, these 5 logos were all drafts. They were not finalized logos. This was the only finalized logo that we developed for him. When we kind of look at how this and the drafts compare for being memorable, logical, and unique, we went through a lot of different versions. One of the versions that we started with was this idea of having a smile next to a house that kind of resembled a sun, because it was really great at conveying what he did. He's a Max Cash home buyer, so having homes be present in the logo and in the branding system is a great way of showing visually and immediately informing clients, here's what I do, here's what I'm involved with, is houses. Some other designs that we created, he had this idea of being a knight in shining armor against other home buying businesses who are maybe relying on less reliable practices, and he wanted to show that he was better than the competition. As great of an idea as that is, having a knight in shining armor be your logo for a house buying business can be a little tricky for keeping clients or for helping clients remember what it is you do. If I saw this logo, I'd probably be more inclined to think it was for a Renaissance fair or maybe a library instead of a Max Cash home buying business. While we could have created more renditions of the knight in shining armor to maybe incorporate the house somehow better into the imagery, we decided pretty early on it wasn't working, and ultimately we wanted the house to be the primary image of the branding system, which makes sense because it helps people remember what you do. It's logical, which is why this became the #1 selection in terms of logic, because not only does it have the house, it has the money held right there, so you understand it's a cash buying home business. And what makes it unique is it shows some of the features about him that are exemplary. He wants a fun looking logo and a fun looking brand, because that's what sets him apart from the competition. He's not just some stuffy guy who wants to show up to your house and buy it. He wants to be there the entire time. He has high energy. He's always going to be there to answer your questions. So showing that in a logo visually helps clients remember, or potential clients remember, this is what sets this brand apart. And effective branding shouldn't stop at just your logo and your branding system. It should be present on your website. It should be in your social media platforms, your Google My Business profile, your marketing materials, your email signature, your business cards. Once you've created a system, the great thing is that now you get a feel for what all aspects of your brand should look like. You have your logo, you have your fonts that you should use, your patterns, textures, and symbols, and the do's and don'ts of when and where you should be using your branding system. If you went to a graphic designer to create a new logo for you, consider the fact that they shouldn't have maybe just created a logo, but an entire system of branding materials that they can then utilize, or that you can then utilize throughout all aspects of your brand. And again, the benefit of a branding system is that once you've created that branding system, you know how all aspects of your brand should look and should feel. So once you approve your logo, your color, your fonts, that gives you a great handle on really what you can expect for all aspects of your brand. And it helps make all aspects of your brand feel cohesive, memorable, and recognizable to potential clients. As far as now we have our user flow figured out, we have our branding system figured out. So we know our website is going to meet its objectives. We know that clients are going to look at our website and it's going to be more memorable, more recognizable. What's our next step? Our next step is keeping clients informed. So it's getting into the nitty-gritty of what actual information should you have on your website, and what are some other tools you can be utilizing along with your website to keep clients informed. So I want you to kind of go through this list as almost like a checklist of what information you should include on your website. So is it fully branded? Hopefully after we've gone through the branding section, your website is fully branded. Your website should have information about what services or products you offer. Remembering that funeral service singer, now I'm just mumbling, but making sure that you actually list out all of your services so that if people aren't familiar with your business, they actually can stay informed on what it is that you provide that makes you unique. You should include updates and news. If you are a business that offers deals, 20% off offers, things like that, having a section in your website where that's easily visible is great for keeping potential or returning clients interested in your business. You should have the who and what and where and why of your business listed somewhere, whether it's in a separate About Us page or listed directly on the homepage or landing page of your website. You should have your values and mission statement. You should include social media feeds. I don't even want to say create social media accounts if you don't have them, because you should already have them. But if you have social media feeds and you're not linking them to your website, you're minimizing the impact that you have online, and you're minimizing the web that you've grown from your website and your social media platforms, which can negatively impact your ranking on Google and other search engines. And finally, I want you to include a reviews feed and multiple contact methods. Because your website is trying to fill out these objectives of booking a service, buying a product, getting in touch, no matter what it is, having multiple contact methods present throughout your site is a great way of getting potential clients to keep in touch with you, get their questions answered, or let you know how many people are interested in your service or business in the first place. I want you to consider where customers are going to learn more about your business. Your website is probably going to be the main tool that they can use to learn more about your service or your product. But there's also going to be places like your storefront is going to be a great place to get questions answered. Blog posts, if you write consistent blog posts online, that can be a great place for people to learn more about your business or what makes you unique. Social media is another great place where people can learn more about your business. And finally, something like email campaigns, CRM, keeping clients constantly informed through drip campaigns is another great way of making sure that clients always learn what's happening with your business, what's most important, what should I know, what deals are going on right now, so they stay informed and interested in your services. As far as social media goes, I'll go into this just a little bit because, again, if you don't have a social media account set up for Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, TikTok, you should have at least one account set up for your business on at least one of those platforms. Your branding system should be present throughout your social media. It should reinforce your branding so that you are more recognizable and more memorable to potential clients. And if you're linking your social media to your website, people don't want to click on your social media and see that it's no longer consistent with what they were seeing on your website. So again, making sure that your branding is cohesive throughout all of these aspects of your brand. With Maui Pharma, which is here, for example, one thing that I did with them is really getting back to the who, what, and where of their business. So they are a CBD company that's based in Maui, Hawaii. So the where is very important for them. For their old social media accounts, what they did is basically just post a lot of pictures of Hawaii. And while that's great and it gets people to know about Maui, Hawaii, it didn't really connect back to their business. And the only post that they had with their products didn't show their products in connection with Hawaii. It was basically just their product on plain blue or plain orange on a plain yellow background. So what we did is we took what they wanted. They wanted to exemplify that they were from Maui, Hawaii. That was their unique feature. That was their where. We wanted to show what they were, which is a CBD company, and we want to show who they are, which is Maui Pharma. So what we did is we looked at their branding system. We said a lot of the pictures that you're using and one of the key colors in your branding system is blue. So let's use a lot of natural photos of Hawaii that focus on the water and have a lot of kind of blue tones in them so that even when you're using photo heavy elements throughout your Instagram or TikTok posts, there's still a very heavy blue feeling to it, which then makes all of your branding elements feel cohesive throughout your social media platforms. We created custom templates so that we could show products that they had next to or in a Maui environment so that people can connect. This is a CBD product and they understand that, but it's also placed in Maui, Hawaii. So I understand these two things are now connected, and that helps me memorize what makes this business unique. And we used all of that together to then create a much more cohesive branding system present on their social media so that people can stay informed about what this company does in a way that also reinforces who this company is. So we've gone through 3 sections now. We've gone through user flow, we've gone through what makes your branding important, and we've gone through how to keep clients informed on or off your website. Now I want to focus on improving SEO, because once again, if you've done all 3 of those things at this point and not invested in SEO, you're really wasting your time, because if people don't have a way of accessing your website consistently, if you don't have a way of ranking on Google, you just spent all that time, all that money creating custom user flow, custom branding, writing out all of the copy for your website, or creating email drips, all of these things that then people won't have any access to. So when it comes to SEO, there's a lot of different tools you can use. You can use website development, which is what I've been talking about so far, making sure that your website is fully branded, making sure that your voice is cohesive, you have mission statements, value statements, you explain what services and products you have. Because again, service and products, that's important for people who just want to stay informed about what you offer, but it's also important for search engines who want to know what it is you offer. Because if you never list the specific things that you offer on your website, Google has no way of knowing what it is that makes you special and what they should be ranking you for in the first place. Social media is another great way that you can improve your SEO. It's just another way of creating basically another link that Google can use and push towards the top of Google rankings for people to search for your business, your industry, whatever it is, so that you have another URL present within that ranking system. Another great thing that Google offers, or a system of things that Google offers rather, is Google My Business Profile, Google Maps listings, Google Ads, Google Guaranteed, Google Search Console, and Google Site. A lot of tools that Google offers are free, like Google My Business. So if you aren't utilizing already the Google My Business option, you're minimizing the impact that your business can have on Google and search engines in general. Because what happens when you use Google My Business, by the way, if you aren't familiar, is when people search up your specific business, the name of your business, you will have a card that appears on the side that has a link to your website, your phone number, your business hours, helpful information, reviews. You can use GMB posts there. It has all that information already present. So you not only get another instance that you can use your branding online for free, but you also get a quick way for consumers who don't maybe want to click through a website, as easy as that is, and find your contact link or find your call button on your website, to immediately just click it straight from Google. So it's another way of just spreading your influence a little bit wider and making sure that you retain clients as best as you possibly can. And then, of course, there are other tools like Google Ads and Google Guaranteed, where you can actually pay to improve your rankings or pay to have ads through Google. Another way that I talked about earlier, email campaigns, keeping people informed, letting them know when deals exist or just what services you're providing at the moment. Optimized content, which gets back to your website, but it's more about focusing on kind of those blog posts and landing pages and how you can craft both the back end and the front end with specialized verbiage and design and really just coding choices that make that content then spread your web wider on Google, because SEO is really a game of how much content you can create every month. If you're creating a lot of content, Google's going to recognize that you're creating a lot of relevant content. And this person who does such and such service in such and such area should suddenly be ranking higher, because I understand now I have 20 pages to source that information from versus your competitor who only has one. You suddenly seem a lot more important in the eyes of Google. And finally, the last thing that we can focus on for SEO is high ranking backlinks. And that means is credible websites out there that link to websites from completely separate domains can help Google recognize that this highly credible website said this website that I've never heard of before is important. I'm now going to recognize that this less important website should be ranked higher in Google because this huge company said it was important. The thing that's great about that is even if you don't have a huge platform right now, but you already have maximized your website, making sure that your branding is cohesive, your mission statements there, all of your services are listed out, Google has all the tools that it needs to rank you high. As long as you can get in touch with someone who has a higher ranking website who can link to your website, you're already going to help how much traction you're going to get to your website and how many eyes are going to see it from both Google's perspective and from people visiting this high ranking website perspective. Talked a little bit about Google My Business. The nice thing about Google My Business is, again, it is completely free. And it's a great way for people when they immediately search for you on Google to see elements of your branding and GMB posts, which are free to create, which can link right back to your website, which can, again, backlinking and creating that web so that more and more people gain interest in your website and have a way of accessing your website and what's important about your service and industry, your services, about us, contact, all of that good stuff. And you can also include your website link, directions to your business. People can save your business. They can call you right away. You can see website reviews. You can see where they work, what hours, all of that good stuff so that people can immediately, without even having to click on your website, find all of that information. In terms of optimized content, which again, I talked a little bit about that blog post writing, what you really want to focus on is optimizing content for keywords and locations. So looking into what are people searching in relation to my business. That's one of the things we do at Portkey is we use a couple different programs that we can then input your existing URL or just input what kind of service or product you provide and find what are the highest ranking search terms or what are the highest used search terms for that service or product. So for example, if I looked up Portkey right now, one of the search terms I would want to look into is web design or SEO or graphic designer near me. All of these terms are going to be really high ranking terms that Google utilizes that then we can use in our own content when we're creating blog posts or landing pages to make sure that Google, when people are searching these highly used phrases, can connect it back to us. And again, that's why location is important too, because trying to generalize these keywords and these phrases for across the entire world isn't going to be as successful as those key phrases plus the location that you serve. That's going to help you localize your customers and your consumers and get you more successful results, because a lot of services and industries out there don't serve the entire world. So making sure that you actually target your specific area is crucial in ensuring that the type of clients you receive from ranking on Google are ones that are actually relevant to your business. Then I also want you to look at how you can share and repurpose blog content. So just because it's written now, put in a lot of effort into that doesn't mean it's just dead and gone and it's only created for ranking purposes and that's it. You can utilize all of that copy you created for social media, for GMB posts. You can use it for email campaigns. And again, you can send all that information too for backlinking for other domains who want access to what makes your service special, so that they can then create backlinks to your website that are relevant for your specific service. And they can use those words that you created too for your blog posts or landing pages. And then kind of just showing we've gone through all of this now, the SEO, the branding, the user flow, all of this now connects together. So it shows how the optimized content on your website that you've worked so hard to create, user flows that people understand your services, they understand what it is that's special about your business, the branding, and all the how people get informed about your business all works together to create a great optimized web page, landing page. But it also can work together to now create custom blog pages and landing pages that people can learn more about your business, and Google can rank you higher because it recognizes more specifically what services and areas you serve. And that connects back to your GMB profile, which you can utilize. Again, this content can connect back to your GMB. It connects to your social media, which can, again, use blog post writing in your social media, uses your branding system in your social media, gets into directories and listings so that on Google, you're actually ranking higher for a lot of this content you've created on GMB, on social media, on your website, and it helps you rank higher in search results. So all of that works together. All of that work you put in is now being shown successfully throughout all elements of your website and online presence. These are just some examples of a lot of the clients that Portkey has helped. This isn't an exhaustive list, but it is some of the clients who even just recent years that we've either done website design, we've done graphic design, we've done SEO, search engine optimization, or social media management. All of those good things. Some of our clients come to us for just one or two of the things. Some of our clients come to us for all of it to maximize their online presence and online potential. If you have any questions, because I feel like at this point, I've kind of run through everything pretty quick, but if you have any questions, you can get in touch with me. My email is max.portkey@gmail.com. You can set up a meeting just with my Calendly link right there. You can contact me with my phone number, 612-315-0535. Call or text. I'll respond either way. I'm Gen Z, so I don't mind texting. But if you have any questions about how your specific website is working, or if you want to learn based on your competitors, how your competitors are ranking in comparison to you, I can look into that. But really, that's kind of all that I have to cover today. Portkey ourselves, we're on, of course, Instagram, TikTok, all those good social media platforms. So you can always find us online through that. But otherwise, it's really all I have to cover. Thank you for coming, and we can kind of go into questions now.
Actually, Max, there are two in the chat.
Okay.
Pam would like to know, can we backlink ourselves? Is there an app or website to assist for minimal dollars?
So no, you cannot backlink yourself unless you have a completely separate domain that is already successful, which probably won't happen for minimal dollars. What I would recommend is you can reach out to any SEO specialist. A lot of them will have a backlinking option. How it works is they will provide for you a certain amount of backlinks every single month, and they have connections to very high ranking, very powerful domains that they can then connect your business to. The hard thing with backlinking is it isn't going to work just by, even if you have two separate domains yourself, unless one of those is already successful, it's not going to help your ranking boost any higher.
Okay. And Hannah wants to know, what if my services are remote? So nationwide, what would I put as the location in my GMB?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things you can do. You can list either like Portkey, we can work remote, but we still list our location as the Twin Cities because a lot of people like working with a local business and they feel more secure knowing that they're working with a local business. There is also a remote option for GMB, which basically says that you don't have a store location or that people don't have to visit you in store, that you have an online and remote option. So that's what I would recommend.
And Ron asked, TikTok, will it eventually go away? Is it worth starting a presence on TikTok now?
Yes.
Probably not in Montana, but other than that.
So I have two things to say about TikTok. One, I'll say, if you're creating content already, I know a lot of businesses who, for example, we work with a lot of contractors who take video footage or photo footage of the work that they've done. If you're already creating that footage, it doesn't really hurt to just post on TikTok just because and see what happens. It really depends on the type of industry you're in, if TikTok matters or not. There's going to be a lot of industries out there where your audience is just not going to be on TikTok and it's not worth your time. As far as how long it's going to last, who knows? I mean, it's really jumped up in popularity in just the last 5 years. It could continue to jump up and could be a staple just like Instagram or Facebook has become, but it could die away in the next 5 years too. So what I would recommend is invest time in it if you know that you have customers who are investing their time in TikTok, because that's going to help you grow your audience on a platform that actually matters. But if you know that your service, if your industry doesn't really have customers on TikTok, it doesn't make sense to put time and effort into it.
Kathy has a question, and that what would be a good budget to get started with? I will need to start small and grow as my business grows.
So I'm assuming you're talking about budget for web design. Web design in general, designing like a one-page website, the least you probably want to spend is around $1,000. You can certainly find cheaper people who will say they'll do it for a couple $100s. My experience with that, because I get a lot of people coming to me after reaching out to those people who do it for a couple $100s, is that you spend a couple $100s and you get a website that doesn't really work and has some weird glitches, and you suddenly can't get in contact with your web developer and you don't know what's going wrong and you don't have access to the back end of your website. There's just a lot of red flags that can pop up very, very quickly. So you'll get what you pay for. When you spend around $1,000 on your website, what you can guarantee and what you should be checking with your web developer to make sure that you have this kind of access is, do you have access to the back end of your website? Can you go in yourself and make changes if you need to? Do you have access to your domain? Do you host it yourself or do they host it for you? Do you have access to, if you want to transfer your website to a different web hosting service, or if you no longer need them for a web developer or a web designer, do you have complete control over your website? Do you own it, or are you just paying them to basically host it every single month? So you should be asking those questions with whoever your web designer or web developer is, because if you have a web designer or web developer who claims that they have complete control over your website and that you don't own any of it, then what did you just spend your money on? Because now if you want to move anywhere else, they've really gotten you tied down. So I'd say, to be safe, $1,000 is a good budget to start at. You can certainly find people who will do it for cheaper, but I just find that that's not typically as reliable.
And following up on that, you're in the same area. James asked, I have a website that was set up, but I don't know how to change / manage it.
Yep.
Is this something you guys can help with?
So yes, Portkey does do that all the time. The things that I would ask your web developer, or if you designed it yourself, you'll want to keep in mind, where is your website being hosted? Great platforms for that. We use SiteGround because SiteGround has 24/7 support and makes automatic backups of your website. So if something went wrong for whatever reason, you would always have a backup version that you could reinstate so that there's no downtime in your website having a glitch versus being restored and still functioning properly. I would look into what your website is being built on. So what web builder do you use? Is it Wix? Is it WordPress? Is it Squarespace? If it's built on Squarespace, I don't recommend Squarespace personally. For SEO reasons, Squarespace is not as optimal as Wix or WordPress. So if you're having to redesign your website, those are the two that I would recommend. If it's custom code, that's, I mean, that's your own problem at that point. And I'll say this, we get a lot of clients who say, I created this whole custom coded website, or I had someone create this for me and it looks great and it functioned great for a while, but now anytime I want anything to change, it takes 2 months for my developer to get back to me and I can't go in and change it myself. The beauty of these web builders now, like Wix and WordPress, is that it makes web design a lot easier. So even if you don't have a lot of experience, being able to move to a platform like WordPress or Wix can be huge in making sure that you can make some of those changes yourself. So I would recommend, if your website is built right now on a platform that isn't Wix or WordPress, or I guess Squarespace, trying to get it moved over to a platform like that so that you have more control over all aspects of your web design and your website.
Christopher asked, I'm a manufacturer who sells wholesale to retail stores. What's the best way for me to reach the retail stores?
Yeah, well, there's a couple different ways. One way is, if you have a website, or if you don't have a website, get a website, but making sure that that's optimized for SEO ranking, because no matter what industry you're in, SEO ranking matters, because there are going to be those stores who then try to find businesses like yours. But if you're not ranking high on Google, they're never going to find you, and they're never going to know to reach out to you. They're never going to know that you offer your business or your support. So making sure that you rank high on Google is probably number one. Number two is, I would look into maybe email campaigns, drip campaigns, ways that you can get in touch with potential clients or returning clients to let them know what kind of offers you are offering at the moment, just so that you can always keep people interested, whether they're returning clients or potential clients who haven't used your service yet.
And Pam asked, does that web design for $1,000 include branding?
Yes, well, it can. It really depends on who you go out to and who you reach out to for your website development. But for about $1,000, you can probably find someone who will do your website design with branding. Yeah.
Pam also asked, you recommended Wix? I'm not sure what that's all about.
Yes. So Wix is like WordPress. Both are great for SEO. Wix has a little bit less options when it comes to SEO, but it's still relatively good, especially if you are just starting out your industry. Now I'm not being able to talk, but if you are just starting out your brand, your website, if you don't have an online presence yet, Wix is a great first step. We get a lot of clients who come to us who do their Wix website, they stick with it for a couple of years, and then as their business grows and they feel more confident, more comfortable, they have a bit more money to spend on their online presence, then we shift them over to WordPress. So you can keep the same visuals too. Don't be worried about, if you create a website on Wix, that in the future, maybe I won't be able to do what I want. You can always switch to a bigger and better platform that can still visually look the same. But yeah, Wix is great.
And I have a boomer question. What's a
Yes.
drip campaign?
Drip campaign. So drip campaign is email or phones, but it's when people sign up for like an email list, or if you give someone your phone number to sign up for whatever notification system your brand has. We have clients who create drip campaigns that what that means is when people sign up to get these notifications about brand deals, about any sort of notification that your business could provide, like a 20% off, that sort of thing, they immediately get informed through a drip campaign, which then supplies you immediately via email or text or whatever, but typically those two, immediately provides you with, here's a discount code, or here's what sale we're having, so that you immediately stay informed about when that happens.
Okay, well, great. I don't see any other questions in chat. I don't see anything in Q&A. Oh, here, Kathy just asked. Whoops. At Christopher Lucas, your question suggests maybe finding a free score mentor who has worked in an industry similar to yours. Ah, okay, I see where she's going with that. That was for the how to reach, okay. Max, that was wonderful.
Well, thanks for having me.
You took a really tough subject. You explained it immaculately. You made it interesting. We had 40 people to start with, and we had 40 people at the finish.
Like to hear it.
That's outstanding. And you've gotten a lot of really good questions. So, boy, thank you. Hopefully, you'll be doing more.
Yes. And thank you for everyone for coming, especially in the world of web design and SEO. I get a lot of people who come to me who have unfortunately been maybe taken advantage of because they just don't know the extent of whatever they're paying for web design or SEO. So thank you for coming and forming yourself and staying up to date so that you know you're going to be making smarter business practices.
I would also like to add something to what you said that you couldn't say. I have a mentee who is trying to get a landing page designed through Fiverr.
Yes. Ooh, yep.
And she just sent me the most tortuous series of text messages. And the guy wanted $650, and he had no concept of what it was she wanted.
Ooh,
So I'm sure I've got other mentees that are using Fiverr for other things
yeah,
that are really happy with them, but that's a really good reason for using somebody like Max.
yeah.
If for no other reason, he speaks your language and he's easy to find.
Yes. Again, we get a lot of clients who come to us because we're a local business and they know they can come to our office if they have questions. So yeah, knowing your web designer and your web developer helps erase some of the mysticism with all of that stuff.
Okay, well, I think at this point, I'm going to stop recording. Probably should have stopped before I said that.